and live your life today. It doesn't matter what they say.
So, welcome to everybody who ends up joining us live or on the replay. I love doing these Lotus Lives with Mallory. This one is the Misrepresentation of Self Love series that we get on here and do every now and then. And the topic today is having those hard conversations with people that we love in conjunction with self-love and what this does for us. So Mallory, as you all know, Mallory Kiersten is my partner here in Red Lotus Life. We've known each other forever and ever, it feels like, I'm sure lifetimes. And we just really like to just come in here and talk about how self-love is not rainbows and unicorns and glitter and always light and love, that actual self-love is embracing all the pieces of you and all the pieces that sometimes we tend to shove into a corner and not want to look at. And then that is actually the true meaning of self-love, is embracing all of these pieces. So I've seen some hearts here. I can't see, we're in the shadow of Mercury retrograde. So there's been some little problems already, a little bit of issues. And I'm seeing hearts, but I'm not seeing if anybody is on. So will you please tell me if you're watching live, will you please put something in the comments? Just say, hey, hello, who you are, because like I said, I don't know if it's showing me comments. So who you are, where you're from, and hello. And if you can hear us, okay. Oh, there you go. Something in the comments.
No, I had to.
Great. Awesome.
Okay. I appear to be the only one watching us right now, so this is interesting.
Well, somebody was doing hearts. Was that you?
No, it was not.
Okay. So somebody was doing
someone's
hearts.
here. Okay.
Or maybe they showed up for a second and then they left, but that's okay.
That's okay. Okay.
So,
So,
would you like me to kind of talk about today's pretty special? It's that lunar eclipse, total lunar eclipse that happened over here where I am in Mountain Time Zone. It started to begin at 2:33 a.m. So, and I don't think anywhere in the States besides Hawaii was actually able to see it.
didn't see the full thing, but Beth actually set an alarm last night or / this morning. So at about 4 a.m. our time, went and looked, and I could see just like the sliver of
Really?
and it was red. I tried to take a picture, but it was like, what is that? It looked like I took a picture of like a pimple or something. It was so stupid. But no, I actually could see it was like a red overlay, and then just like a sliver over the top of the actual, like the moon light, the normal moonlight that we're used to shining through. And it was awesome. I'll see if Beth she probably had better luck with pictures because she has a better camera. She has a better phone. But see if she can maybe post that in the group later. That would be awesome.
Hey, that would be awesome.
Really cool.
Yeah, we even had cloud cover and everything. So yeah, I didn't see any of it. Are you here with me?
We've had really clear skies.
They're partly cloudy now, but even last night, yeah, then I woke up to cloud cover too. So have you had a chance to really look into the energetics?
No, I'm in resistance to it, so it's been really painful for me.
You've been caught in the rainstorm.
Yeah, well, the last couple full moons have been really hard for me. Because of this topic that we're talking about today, right? It's like it's all shedding,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. As I was looking and just preparing for this chat that we're getting ready to have, I really did have to just take a look at what I actually run my life and my business even with astrology, even though I am not an astrologer. I know very little about astrology, but I will run my business by it. So I really wanted to look into it on more of a personal level today as we had this talk. And I'm blown away. So if you're okay, I'll just go ahead and just talk about the energetics of it. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we have, this is a South Node eclipse. Okay. And it is in Sagittarius. And the eclipse seasons have actually been in Sagittarius for like the last year. So for me, I was checking this out. So South Node eclipses, they are all about releasing, letting go, and cleansing. Whatever happens during this time is very fated and pivotal. So anytime there's a South Node eclipse, so really pay attention to what's going on with you today, how you're feeling, and this releasing and letting go and the cleansing. The actual theme of this one is this whole idea of letting go if we actually want to live. So, you know, this life that we want to live, it's literally you're smiling because you're like, oh. But it really is letting go of the things so that you can actually live. Because as humans, every single day, we lose a lot. We lose a lot. We lose our time. We lose our energy. We age. We actually age and get closer to our death every single day. And so this South Node eclipse is very much about figuring out what can you let go of so that you can live another day and live in your light another day, the way that you want to live. So, that is letting go of expectations. That is observing, like actually observing things as they come and as they go and how they affect you. And do they light you up, or do they nourish you? Is this how you want to spend your time, your resources? Or do they actually weigh you down? Do they get you closer to your death? That's the whole thing. So, okay. Do you care if I just kind of jump into this real quick? Okay. So for me, as I'm looking at this for my own personal stuff, for me, this is, let's see. So Sag has been in my chart in the 11th house every single time there's been an eclipse. You can actually go back, for anybody who does the moon journaling or anything like that, go back to May 20th. And whatever it is that was going on then, that's literally what you've been working on this whole time. So I haven't had a chance to go back and look at it. But for me, it's all about friends, groups, and associations in my 11th house, which has been so interesting because Mallory knows this. Through the last year, you know, I sat there and I was like, wow, 2020 was really good for me because I was able to really just realize who was important in my life and strengthen the relationships that I have that are important to me. And then the others have fallen away either naturally or extremely painfully. There's been a lot of pain in this area of my life also. And then when I was checking this out, I was like, wow, it says I'm reorganizing. There's reorganization. So this is, think about this in like my relationships. So reorganization, prioritization, wait, I can't even say it. Communications with Mercury is really getting me tongue-tied. So prioritization and then why. And it's really having this understanding of my relationships and what they mean to me. And so as I've been really looking into this and really feeling into it, it's like, wow, my inner circle has changed. And it's not necessarily bad. Like I still have friends. I do still have friends. It's just some of those relationships have come to the forefront. They're like my inner circle, the people that I surround myself with are very, very different now than they were last year. I'm still friends with all those people. They're just different. right? And then same with family, same with the family. I used to not be super close with my family, but then I've actually seen every family member in the last probably 2 to 3 weeks in several states. And I don't know how that's happened either. It's because they're all of a sudden priority, right? So when I talk about that, where is your, I mean, do you want to maybe look and see where is that? I don't know.
That's what I was doing. I was like, where is it?
Okay.
I was like, I mean, because I just couldn't remember, because Sag is my ascendant. So I was like, and I think the ascendant is in the first house. And I was just double checking that. But yes,
Okay.
So it's in my first house, whatever the first house stands for.
Okay. I don't know. Do we have an astrologer in the house?
I know,
Where's
right?
Jamie when we
I
need her?
know, right?
Can
Well,
you
it's like-
Google that real fast and see what the first house represents? I think that's self. I think that's like
Mhm.
personal self, but I'm not sure.
Defines you, represents the body you were born with, your physical appearance, and your general temperament. So my me has been, and that makes sense, my me has been trying to emerge all of this time, you know, the leader me, the manifester me, the person ruling the world me, for sure, has been trying to come out. And,
Yeah.
you know, that hasn't been met with the best receptivity, for sure. Makes a lot of sense.
That is interesting. And you've probably been doing that since May. I mean, I know the structure. You've been restructuring your business,
Everything.
all kinds of things.
Everything. Yeah.
Even the physical body stuff. I mean, all of it.
Mhm. Yeah. That makes so much sense. Everything.
Mhm.
Yeah. Learning new things.
Yeah. We have Erin in the house. Hello, Erin.
Hi,
So glad that you're
Erin.
here to join us for this discussion here on self-love and the misrepresentation of it. If you have any questions, please let us know, or any comments, please, please, please put it in and let us know if you can hear us okay too. That'd be great. So as you've been shifting and as you've been restructuring, you say it hasn't been received very well. So I don't know, what are some of the conversations, I guess, around all of that that's been happening? Like, I mean, all the places.
I mean, the big stuff is, you know, very much around boundaries. You know, getting clear on yourself, right, means that you are clear on what you want out of, you know, so it's interesting that you're talking about how this is all about, you know, your friendships and your relationships and stuff for you, because it's just kind of like in discovering yourself, you also just kind of figure out like what is appropriate behavior and what is okay behavior for you, and like, and what is not. And, you know, so I'll just talk about, you know, a conversation that I am comfortable like sharing openly with everybody. Like, for example, especially around the election time, I was just having so many struggles with family members because I have family that spans all across the political spectrum. So they were arguing all the time. and I also have a weekly like normal chat time that I have with my mom. You know, that's the way that we kind of keep our relationship. Everything happens, you know, within the boundary of like this 1 hour time period once a week. You know, that's what feels good to me. That's what feels comfortable to me. But then within those conversations, we've also had to have conversations about like, I don't want to discuss politics with you. Like, and they would still sort of teeter on that other end because I should be able to talk about anything with my daughter who's an adult, you know, like, and it's like, no, but I don't want to talk about those things because they're upsetting to me. And I don't want to have those conversations with you. And so it's like a constant, either I redirect the conversation and then she remembers, oh yeah, blah, blah, okay, yeah. But it's like, it was hard at first and it was very confronting at first. And I know that her feelings were hurt at first. And, you know, and having to have those conversations with people about like, no, it's upsetting, and I don't want to talk about upsetting things when we only have an hour a week that we're speaking to each other. And then when it kind of became explained that way, she goes, oh, okay, that makes sense. Let's just keep it pleasant. That's all I want. Just keep it pleasant, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just a really simple boundary that's in place about not wanting, we get to decide what things are appropriate to talk to one another about. And when you're so used to, especially in a parent-child relationship or any sort of relationship with any sort of perceived authority, right? And we're recovering people pleasers. I know that there are a lot of those in this group, recovering people pleasers. It's like, it's a hard conversation to just simply say, I don't want to talk about politics. Or, you know what? I don't want to talk about my personal finances. My personal finances are no longer my mother's business, like those kinds of things. And it's not going to always be received well. I mean, I would argue that this case eventually turned out well, but it wasn't in the beginning because people don't want to change. It's a hard thing to change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's funny because you said this is a really simple, I can't remember exactly what your exact words, but you said it was a simple conversation or a simple example. Mm-hmm. Maybe is what you said, but really like to have these conversations with your mother, a lot of times, no, it's not. That's like probably one of the hardest things to do is set boundaries with your mother. And I can
it's simple. I didn't say it was easy. I said it was simple, but
some people are like, oh, that's actually complex. I'm even thinking about, the conversations that I've had with my mom, and then also as a mother to my children who are now young adults, and them having to place those boundaries with me, and me having those those thoughts and going, wait a second, I'm your mom. And then also realizing, oh no, you're right. This is your life, and you get to speak, share whatever you want with me type thing. So it's fascinating. Actually, there's so many examples. I feel like whenever you talked about the politics thing, that was a big thing. Even like the whole time you're talking, you had mentioned people being offended, like, your mom being offended at first, her feelings got hurt. And even me promoting this made me go, there's going to be so many people that think this is about them. And it's not. It's just in general, just talking about these hard relationships and being transparent. I feel like that was something really big there, is having that communication to be transparent, to say, no, it's just because I want to enjoy my time with you. I only have an hour a day, or an hour a week is what you said. And you just really were like, Mom, I just really want to enjoy this time with you. And I'd rather not muddy the water with our differences and political views, whatever. So that was a huge piece that you just revealed right there. I think to have a hard conversation with ease and flow, because that's what I'm all about, is a life of ease and flow, is mm-hmm. being transparent with your intention of why before they can get all offended. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Right. I guess, getting transparent before, being clear about our intentions first is probably a big one, because it's like the slightest word when we're having those difficult conversations that could potentially trigger something in the other person, and then all of a sudden they're no longer hearing you, and it wasn't your intention to do that. So if we're clear up front, like my intention on this hour with you is to enjoy our time together and embrace our commonalities. Mm-hmm. And if that's my intention, and I say that first, that this is my intention, then it's, here's what I feel like would be something really awesome that we could do, a boundary that we could keep, to keep things that way, or to make things happen that way, you know? And it's pleasant because there's so many other things that you can discuss with that person. I mean, we're both readers, so we're reading books together. So we're discussing the books together, you know? So it's just like, it's actually has made everything that much more beautiful.
I love that. So good. You know, whenever, let's see, I had a lot of examples on all of this, because I will give an example of one that didn't go with ease and flow. Okay. And this has been something that I've spoken to you about a lot in the last couple of years, because
I think I know which one this is. So.
Yeah, I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to go for it. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't at this point. And this is actually really good. If somebody can learn from my, I don't want to see, this is another thing about self-love, okay, is owning your part. It's owning your part in whatever it is that just transpired. Even if you have zero clue what just happened, you can always look in hindsight and just be like, oh yeah, I could have done that better. I could have done that better. Even if there was no ill intention. So, yeah, I've talked to Mallory about this a few times, or not more than a few times, because this was a very hurtful thing that happened. So I had somebody that was in my inner circle that was like a sister to me for a decade or more, probably more than a decade. And I could feel her energetically pulling back. I could feel our friendship changing, our relationship changing, and I just didn't understand why. Well, every single time, and this is I'm actually going to tie this into this whole misrepresentation of self-love, because every single time I talked to her about it, she was, oh, I'm fine. You know, I'd be like, is everything okay here? Are we good? You know, if something happened. And if so, let me know. The whole time she wouldn't let me know. For years, she did not let me know. And it actually got quite painful for me, because I just had no idea what was happening. I didn't know what was going on. I cherished and valued this friendship. So it came out about a year. Well, I guess it's been a little less than a year now. It actually came out that I had offended her with live streams I had done a few years ago, where I was talking about, and everybody who knows me in this group, who knows me in general, know I am all about living your best life, right? Live your best life, shine bright, have the people around you that are in your inner circle and who support you, help you rise, right? That's what it's all about, is helping each other rise, nourishing the 5 bodies, nourishing all the areas in your life, and just living this life that you can create, right? Say yes to soul. That's always my thing. Hashtag say yes to soul. And I was saying that, and I was actually talking about relationships a lot, and I still do. Like this has not changed. I still talk about relationships and say, toxic relationships are the worst. And I'm one of the worst at identifying them sometimes, because when you're in it, you can't see your own shit. When you're in it, when you're outside of it, you can see all of it.
Yep.
But when you're in it, you just don't see it. And so I wasn't seeing it. And I was talking about all this stuff. And I was just saying, live your best life and have those people around you, and authentic relationships. I was, this is one of the things I always have home, have those authentic relationships. And she was one of the people that thought I was talking about her. And this was clear. And to be honest with you, I don't talk about anybody on my live streams. I just talk in general. This is just life. And she did think I was talking about her. And it took her years to actually tell me that, and tell me that she was offended, and that this is why she started to distance our relationship. That relationship is one that now I've sat there and went, well, if she thought I was talking about her, then that's probably not an authentic relationship. And that's probably not somebody that I do want in my inner circle anymore. So in the last few months, this is something that I've really had to take a look at and have the hard conversation with myself. That's actually the hard conversation I had.
And one of the hardest conversations to have.
Yes. Because you don't want to see any of that, right? You just don't. And I was really just trying to do everything I could to mend this relationship. And the whole time my higher self was like, if somebody's thinking what you're saying about authentic relationships is about them, then you don't want them in your life. And I just kept trying and trying and trying. And then I finally realized, okay, because it was so painful and allowing that relationship to go, that was the part where I had to really look at myself and say, this is that whole, what was I talking about here? Where this whole letting go of expectations of others, and also observing these relationships as they come and go in your life. And that some are here for a short time to teach us the lessons, and others are here for lifetimes. But me going, okay, I probably shouldn't. I should probably take a look at some of those live streams and go, okay, if I was offending people that were super close in my life, then I was probably saying some offensive things. Like I'll own that part. I need to go back and actually look at that part. But the self-love part was, I can't even, when you have this love for self to be like, I'm okay, even though I love that person so much, like I'm okay letting them go. I don't even know. So you've actually seen that. And since that's happened, I have freed up so much bandwidth, and there are so many people that have now come into my life. Like what that's done is it's created this huge space so that now I have all of these authentic relationships in my life that are supporting me. I'm supporting them. Together we rise. We're fanning each other's flames, and it feels way different. So I don't know. Can you relate?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think also it's just, it's not always just about, the relationships like with the people that you're letting go of because they aren't in your life anymore. I think it's also just being in flow around the relationships changing. So we were talking a little bit about the container that I'm in with Leah Newman. I'm actually not sure if she's the one who invented this or if she credited somebody else for inventing this, but she talks about all of the different types of relationships in our lives and how, there's acquaintances, there's friends, there's people who are like your teammates. That's like, those are your people in your life who are like your cheerleaders and your supporters. And then there's your inner circle. And so it's like, there's fluidity and flux between the categories. And so this person that you were talking about was at one point your inner circle. You actually said she's part of my inner circle.
Yeah.
And now she's no longer there. And so that may mean that she gets deleted off the list altogether, which is what sounds like happened. And, it's also looking at the boundaries and who you're granting access to in a certain way. So I just did this activity, right? Okay. So I'm like remembering like, okay, so who are the inner circle people? And it's just kind of like, I was, for my mom in particular, I want to keep her kind of in the friend category, like kind of over, she's not she's not inner circle. She's not teammate. She doesn't get to know all of the stuff, whatever. She gets to be friend, where we keep it cordial, we keep it polite, we keep it light and fluffy and fun. And then there's other people in my life. I consider you part of my like teammates, my supporter. I don't know. I feel like you're like more inner circle too. So I consider you like in those realms, right? But it's just kind of like the relationships are going to change. They're going to fluctuate. And they're going to move on the scale of depth, and it's okay. And if they also have to get erased off of the chart altogether, then they have to get erased off of the chart altogether. And that doesn't mean that it's not painful, but it's like, this is the self-love stuff that people don't want to talk about. They only want to talk about getting massages and getting pedicures and taking bubble baths, and because that's the fun shit. And this is the actual hard stuff, is navigating our relationships in ways that are, it shouldn't all be all about us, right? But navigating the relationships in the ways that are, healthy for us. We forget, we talk, and it's just weird. Our society is weird. Can we just agree on that? Because we don't talk about the hardships of self-love, but we'll talk about how friendships are about sacrificing yourself, and you're going to be there for them at 3 a.m. whenever they need you, no questions asked, and blah, blah, blah. And that's a real friend. And it's like, we'll say that kind of stuff. We'll talk about sacrifice in that realm, but we won't talk about sacrifice when it like actually will benefit us versus what we have to sacrifice to be a good friend. I feel like that's probably a whole other live stream, but like, we get to have the relationships in our lives that are going to benefit us. And as we grow and change and evolve, we're going to have more of these like hard, difficult conversations kind of coming up around that.
Yeah. I feel like the more you have the hard conversations, the easier it is to have those relationships, right? Like I have Beth here. Beth's on. I don't know if you can see, but she's like, catch me up. What are we talking about? So I think she might have the idea, though, that this is about relationships, because now she's saying, yes, relationships change, sometimes move on, and nobody is the bad guy. Yeah, that's exactly it.
And that's the thing. Nobody's the bad guy. I think people think also it's like, if we're going to, I'm going to navigate to the group real quick, but if we're going to be leaving a relationship, that doesn't necessarily mean it's because the other I feel like it's almost easier, right? If we're like, well, this person's a bad person. And it's like, well, nobody has to be the bad guy. Like, it gets to just be like, okay, this isn't in alignment anymore. And if we can't adhere to boundaries, or if we can't construct something that is going to be mutually beneficial, then it's just not in alignment. And that doesn't mean that it doesn't become an alignment later. And that doesn't mean that your paths don't converge later, but it just means that for now. Yeah. Because all things are temporary too, right?
Yeah. I always say, you know what? I want to love them from a distance. It's like, I've never quite, say, nope, that, this is cut off. That's like never, that's not how I roll. I always have the door open, because at some point in my life that was in alignment. That we were aligned to be connected, to be in each other's lives, whoever that might be. So I always will be like, okay, I'm going to love them from a distance for now. And then a lot of times, they come back in, because of course they do. It's very,
because I'm awesome and amazing. So of course they want to come back.
Even like me, like this is again, that self-love, right? And having that relationship to self, and having the hard conversation with self, and actually owning when you're the asshole, like where's the part in anything and everything? Where this is what I love about being a spiral practitioner, is actually this mirror theory of whatever you see in other people, you see in yourself. Like that is what is going on. And so whenever there's any kind of negative traits or any kind of negative aspects that are going on, especially in my relationships, I am always going, okay, so where is that in me? Like, where am I showing up in that way? And how can I do better, be better? And also at the same time, though, understanding that it's okay to have that shadow. It's okay to have that other part of us. Like, it's okay to be offended. It's okay to be these other aspects, and that's like embracing it again. That whole people pleasing part. I used to be a big people pleaser. too. And what I realized is how much I was sacrificing self. And then sometimes I'd act out or lash out, you know, as we all do, lash out. And then I would have so much regret for that. And anymore, I recognize what's happening during that time period that is actually, if I am lashing out, then I recognize like what is not in alignment. And it's usually almost every single time a boundary has been crossed, right? The boundary has been crossed and I haven't been transparent in my boundaries. I haven't communicated those boundaries and I've just taken it until I explode. That's usually my pattern. So then again, realizing, okay, what's in alignment, what's not in alignment, and then really taking a look at those relationships.
Right.
She's like saying a lot of comments. What she's saying down here. Take a look at it.
I'm not fully behind mirror theory. We have all the shadows. If someone out of alignment is showing unhealthy shadows to you, doesn't mean that shadow is active in me. I feel like it takes away the responsibility of those that cross the boundary. So yeah, so like in cases where, like you said, I wasn't clearly communicating the boundary, and so then I was lashing out when people would cross it. And it's like, what if you're in those situations where you're communicating the boundary and it's continuing to be pushed, it's continuing to be crossed, and it's like I'm kind of in a situation like that right now where it's like I'm looking at my part, I'm being careful with my words, I'm communicating, and the boundary is continuing to be crossed. So then it's like, this is an out of alignment relationship that I'm dealing with right now. And, it's just kind of like, it's one of those things. And that it's just kind of like, I had to love myself enough to get honest about what I want out of this relationship. And in my quest to sort of get it, I mean, it's not about getting, right? But it's about like being able to have the conversations. And it's like, if the person's not even willing to have the conversation, then it kind of has to go, or they can't have the conversation without taking stuff personally. That's another can of worms on its own, right? It's like, if you can't even have the conversation, then it's like, well, is this person's clearly not inner circle. They're clearly not teammate. Are they even friend? Or do they need to be out in acquaintance land, like really far away? Right. So it's like, that's all stuff that I'm grappling with right now. Personally,
So then I sat there, as you were saying that whole thing, when we were preparing for this chat, like months ago, I feel like this has been put off a few months now and rescheduled. You had said, this is where we realize where we choose suffering. And that was kind of what the basis and foundation of this conversation actually was. We all have choices. And I think a lot of times we forget that. We forget that we have the choice. And then in hindsight, when you really look at being honest with self and having those boundaries with self and that self-respect, when I look back at the situations where I thought I didn't have a choice, I always had a choice. Everybody always has a choice. This might get me in trouble. Might be going into some stuff, but we always have a choice. And this is when you and I were talking about the different experiences that we've had. This is where we unconsciously, subconsciously, however you want to say it, you choose suffering. Oh, and Beth says, she says the choose suffering came out in her shadow gene for purpose.
Okay, that was one of the things. So when we went to the mountains last month for that whole week, that I was like disconnected from internet. I was disconnected from everything. And I got to just kind of be in me. That was definitely something that came up. I was like, okay, if I'm going to continue to not have these boundary conversations with people, then I'm choosing suffering. And every time I choose not to act in my own best interest, and every time I choose not to act, period, I am choosing suffering. So it's like, and it, you know, and this harkens back to what you kind of said at the beginning of this whole conversation, was that like, we don't see the shit when we're in it. And that's like, especially if you're in like a super toxic relationship, it's like, that's done on purpose.
Yeah.
It's done on purpose so that you feel helpless and like you can never leave.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're in it, it feels like you do not have a choice. It feels like you cannot leave. It feels that way. And because you feel that way, that is the reality that I don't even want to say like reality you've created. It's like, but
that's the perception.
You're feeling that as that's your perception. And then that is, and that, because that's your perception, that is your reality.
Yep. So
like, so I just also don't, you know, I don't fully buy. I mean, I do believe that we are the creators of our reality, but I also don't, it's also more complicated than that. So I just want to put that out there, you know,
for sure. Yeah. So then it comes back to this whole thing again of this misrepresentation of self-love, right? Is actually realizing, like taking, using and harnessing this lunar eclipse energy that we have right now, and just really looking at self and the places where we think we're getting mistreated, the places that we think, you know, the relationships that we believe might be toxic, or that we don't have a choice, to really look at that and be like, where are we choosing this? Because you can always choose to let go. And that actually is, even though it sounds simple, it is simple, but it is complex at the same time. That is having the hard conversations with self, with others, to let that go. Like, let it go. Like, you can let it go. You can choose to have a different reality. It's scary. It's scary at times.
It's scary. And also it's like, you don't have to choose to let it all go all at once. You know, I think that's part of what makes it extra scary, is that we think like, okay, well, if this relationship's out of alignment, then I've just got to drop them. I almost said drop them like a cold turkey. Like go cold, you know what I mean? Like go cold turkey and like never speak to this person again. And it's like, no, you get to like, you can do things more gradually. You can do things all at once if that feels good to you. But I think for most people, they want to take a tiny step. Okay, that was manageable. Great. I feel stable. Now I'm going to take another tiny step, and so on and so on and so on, until you've created the thing that you want to create. So it's like, because I think the reason why people don't let go is because it's a huge change all at once. And so it causes them to feel unsafe. So you do the next thing where you can still have the feeling of safety to shift in that department. Okay, I made this little shift. I've done this little thing. And it's going to be different for every relationship. It's going to be different for everyone's journey, right? But it's like holding on to that idea of, I get to do something small today that's going to make a big impact later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like what you're saying there, because I'm even thinking about, it's kind of like coming up with a plan, right? If it's a toxic relationship and it's you wanting to leave or disconnect from that, so the nervous system doesn't go into like fight, flight, freeze, that paralyzed will comes out, and then that's when you feel stuck. Right? Yep. You literally are stuck because now you've frozen in this relationship or whatever that is. And when I want to be very clear with everybody that toxic relationships can be any relationship. It can be family, it can be friends, it can be employers, it can be even with parent-children relationships, it can be neighbors, community. It doesn't matter. I feel like most people can probably, you know, once you think about it, you've had toxic relationships in all of these areas. I've had where employers were toxic. I've had lovers that were toxic, marriages, friends, all the things. And so whenever we get real deep into this, Oh, I just barely saw Beth's comment here of if you can't let go, unpacking why, because that's a big, big deal. And then again, that's that having that hard conversation with self, right? That's where that comes in. But I feel like that actually, Beth, is super important to even come to that conclusion first, because that's also going to be what empowers you to untangle from that relationship and to have the choices, start making different choices, just like what you said, Mallory, like taking these steps to pivot and move and gradually untangle if you need to. This could actually be a really, really deep subject. We could go in so many directions.
I know.
Like we actually already did the hour. I just barely looked and we've already done the hour.
Oh, geez. Well, yeah. So unpacking the why usually comes down to like not feeling safe or not feeling enough in some way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those are just, it's all stuff to look at for sure.
It really is. So kind of just to highlight, I guess, some of the key points that I think, you can tell me if I've missed any, but really I feel like it's being, being transparent in these conversations, right? Being transparent with intention, right? When you want to approach somebody with a hard conversation, like what you spoke about with your mother and how you were like, I just want to enjoy this hour a week that we have together. So can we not talk about this? And then when it gets into the heavier stuff, it really is coming up with a plan, like figuring out why, coming up with a plan to disconnect, untangle. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But then also really the beauty of all of this is that you really get to learn yourself in a deeper way, that self-respect, that self-love, your own boundaries, because that was something else we talked about, was when we weren't communicating boundaries. And also even just with the other people in our relationships, respecting their boundaries as well, respecting other people's boundaries. So there's just, when this happens, so much joy and love is cultivated in the relationships, and most of all in the relationship to self. I don't know, what is that says, when there's no plan, is it safety or resistance?
Oh, no.
Well, I guess, yeah, I would have to know more about that. When there's no plan, is it safety or resistance? Yeah, I
don't think the plan has to be like this 20-step thing. I think the plan is, okay, I'm taking this step right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing this step. Personally, for anything in my life, I don't like to outline 20-step plans. I'm just kind of like, okay, look, this is what I want. I kind of have an idea, like this is what I want, but that works for me, right? Because I'm a non-specific manifester. So I'm just like, okay, this is the thing that I want. Okay, what feels like the next right thing to do? Okay, now I'm gonna go do that thing.
So that's funny that you said that, because we found out that Beth is actually a specific manifester. So she's thinking the opposite way. And she's like, so what's the plan?
Right.
So yeah, it really does. And for those of you who don't know what that is, you look at your human design chart and it's actually the bottom right.
Yeah, bottom right one. So if it points left, it's a specific. If it points, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. If it points right, it's a non-specific manifestor. If it points left, it's a specific manifestor. I think you're a specific manifestor too, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for me, I'm like, oh yeah, I do have to have a plan, especially when I was leaving an unsafe relationship. So if anybody would like to put in the comments that if anybody's in an unsafe relationship and that they're trying to leave or disconnect from, you can definitely reach out to me or whatever you'd like, and I can help support in that way. Just share my experiences. But yeah, it really does depend on that too, that human design thing, on how people are wired and what works for them. So Yeah, I could go on forever about this, but we kind of need to wrap it up. So
Yeah, I guess so. So what do you have going on in your business?
Oh my gosh, there's quite a few things actually going on. But what I'd like to talk about, because we were late on this live stream, and we were late because we were having some Mercury retrograde stuff happening. For those of you who don't know, Mercury stations retrograde on Saturday, the 29th. I think that's the date. And a lot of people fear this energy because it messes with your tech issues. It messes with your communications. It messes with your systems, your organization. There's a lot of misunderstandings. There's a lot of live streams not happening, data plans all of a sudden not working, and just all the things, phones not working, tech issues, lots of tech issues. So Mercury goes retrograde a few times a year, and I actually really love to work with this energy because I feel like this is gifts. I feel like every time this happens, it's a gift thing, and it's like, thank you for showing me where I need to communicate better. I need to have some systems in place. It constantly shows me where I probably put a Band-Aid over something, because all of a sudden the Band-Aid is not there anymore, and just things are everywhere. So I'm actually partnering with Amanda Monk, who is in this group, and we are going to do a masterclass on how to work with Mercury's energy, not only in your life, but in your business and in all the things, because it definitely shows you. We call it the editor of life. So that will be happening. I'll be dropping that link here in the group probably in the next couple days. We're going to start to just get some details, because once again, Mercury is causing some issues and showing us where we don't have the communications down. So we're going to get the details of that, and then we'll drop it in the group. That's what's going on with me. What about you, Mallory? What's happening?
What's not happening? That's the question. I did a complete revamp of my business. So I am temporarily, I'll be opening up spots for one-on-one sessions probably mid-June again, but I basically closed out my schedule for the month to kind of get my big leg of my business in order around content writing and copywriting. So those of you in this group who have businesses, particularly spiritually based ones, I'm your gal to help you get your content shit in order. Whether it's you want to be more consistent posting on social media, you need help with the sales page, you need email sequences going out, you need, I mean, you name it, whatever you need content-wise. I'm your guy. You have a lot of video content, particularly if you have a lot of video content, I can guarantee you are not repurposing it to its full extent. So yeah, reach out to me. Let me know what you need, and we can make it happen. So
Mallory is amazing with all the things, everything that she just said. You are amazing in every way with all of that. So definitely reach out to Mallory if you would like help. And I actually know there's quite a few people in here that I'm thinking of right now that could use some help. They've talked to me about it. So if you're the bottleneck in your business, talk to Mallory. She can help you. And I keep pointing this way because you're that way on my screen. I have no idea what it looks like to everybody else.
Oh, you're down here on my screen.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, thank you, Beth, for joining us. There was Lisa was on here. Hey, Lisa. And let's see. Oh, Erin. Erin was live with us too. And anybody else who didn't say hi, thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing your time, your energy, your space with us. And we will see you next time. Okay. Enjoy this lunar eclipse.
Bye.
And live your life today.